Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot to get into. The Penguins are surging toward the top of the Metropolitan Division. What, if anything, should Ron Hextall do in that trade deadline? I know it's a couple of months away, but there'll be issues, and he's not the same as Jim Rutherford in the way he handles business. We'll get into that, but the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Steelers, their future, immediate and also longer range. And here to discuss is your panel tonight. We have Colin Dunlap, does a great job on the Fan Morning Show as the host of that program. We also have Jeff Hathhorn from 93.7 The Fan, the sports director, and across from him, Chris Adamski. You can read his stuff in triblive.com. So Colin, let's start with all these issues regarding the Steelers, and we'll start with quarterback. It's the one position that never takes a day off. Everyone wants to know about it. So there's no Ben Roethlisberger. What will they do? What's the best plan for them next year and beyond?
You know what I would do? I would take care of quarterback last. And I know that's atypical around town, but that's what I would do. I would draft a lineman, an offensive lineman first, maybe even an offensive lineman second as well. And I would just have a caretaker quarterback for a year. I don't think that there's a quarterback good enough in this draft, even if Kenny Pickett were to fall to them. And I think Kenny Pickett's good. I don't know if he's going to be a great NFL quarterback. I wouldn't take a quarterback at all. I would take care of the needs. I would also take care of corner, and I would try to use this as a bridge year. And maybe Mason Rudolph went from your next franchise quarterback to your bridge quarterback, and that's just fine. Or Dwayne Haskins is that, or a free agent for 1 year that's an NFL guy right now. And I would try to draft my quarterback in the next draft or use significant draft capital to move up. I'm fine where it is. Not that they're going to be good. They could risk being really bad, which would actually help. I would leave quarterback alone. I don't think anybody's worth going out and getting in this draft.
Yeah, I have a similar thought process to Colin in that I want to build that foundation. I think the Steelers have kind of been a house of cards offensively. Build that foundation, not just offensive, but defensive line. And I really think if you look at this draft, maybe beyond running back, tight end, outside linebacker, you could go early with any of the other positions. Now, if Kenny Pickett falls to you and you think Pickett is the next guy, then you take him there. Odds aren't great that that's going to happen. Build that foundation. I'd rather see a young guy, bring him in a reclamation project, see if he might be able, much like you did with Haskins. Maybe there's someone that just wasn't used in the right system that could come here and do the job. And then, as Colin mentioned, 2023 looks to be a heck of a quarterback class. But you need that foundation around whoever that quarterback's going to be.
I don't know if it makes for good TV or not, but I kind of agree with both of you here, and I'm kind of in a hybrid. Colin,
that makes for terrible TV. Take the other side. Go ahead. No, if that's how you feel, that's how it's actually not a bad way to go, guys. Go ahead, Chris.
No, that's what I've been on that. I think that they are content with Mason Rudolph. Listen, they would be happy if something fell in their lap, whatever that is. If Aaron Rodgers said, I'm only playing for the Steelers, right? You have that leverage. You don't think of anything more than even a first-round pick or whatever it might be. Or Russell Wilson says that. Or if they fall in love with be it Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral, your scouts just absolutely think this I can't miss quarterback and he falls to number 20, then they take him. And that's great. Sorry, Mason. Thank you for your service. Here's your clipboard again. But I think Mason, they're comfortable enough with that they can be that placeholder like Colin talked about. Be that guy for a year. Well, you can his best point was you fortify the rest of your roster using your draft picks, using your capital, using your free agent, your cap space that you have right now. I think Mason is a player they don't have to paint themselves in their corner and trade 3 first-round picks to move up or to trade for a veteran, whatever it is. You kind of wait for a year, kind of tread water, fix the offensive line, fix some other positions, and then see where you're at next year. But if something falls in your lap, you certainly go for it, and you don't pass it up.
Has Mason Rudolph, Colin, been given a legitimate shot? If you look at the number of games he's played, you may come to that conclusion. But as far as being the starter at the beginning of a year and see what he could do, what would be his ceiling?
He's just okay. And he's been given enough shot to know that I don't think he's very good. But that being said, I don't think you fortify the quarterback. I actually think Dwayne Haskins is the guy who should start, to be quite frank with you. At least, okay, I'll put it this way. Tomlin tells us, and Matt Canada, if he's going to be the offensive coordinator, that it's going to be a competition. I really hope that they have a true open competition and that Mason Rudolph doesn't go into St. Vincent or Southside, wherever camp's going to be, and that he has the belt and someone has to take it from him. I think Mason Rudolph's ceiling is a very average NFL quarterback, but I'm okay to live with that for a year because there are many other needs. And yes, he has been given a shot, and he got beat out by a flipping duck caller.
But he also
Bob.
beat out Dwayne Haskins, your heir apparent for next year. So he had a chance, and Haskins could not take him down in the preseason. He looked awful, to be honest.
Had one bad preseason half in the last preseason game. I mean, I don't think Mason Rudolph's a very good quarterback.
This narrative that Mason got benched for Duck, I mean, he got beat out by Duck isn't really true. He had one bad half in Cincinnati after he got hit in the head in Cleveland. Other than that, he wasn't. Listen, I don't want to be the Mason Rudolph defending club here. I don't think he's going to be an all-pro quarterback or a star quarterback or a decade-long starter in the league or anything like that. But I think he's fine enough. I mean, compared to 2021 Ben Roethlisberger level, I think he can do that. That's for sure. But I don't know.
He couldn't beat Detroit, Chris. He couldn't beat Detroit.
Yeah, but there were some drops. He could have won that game if you're basing it on wins. If that's dropped by Deontay Johnson, the fumble, I mean, there's a lot of ways they could have won that game. And he found out the night before. Again, my take with him is I haven't seen him legitimately said, you are our guy. We're going to ride with you. And, Jeff, that's what I would look for. I want to see what he can do. I'm not going to write him completely off like most people seem to have done.
I am intrigued by a couple of things. One, he was 5-3 in 2019 on a declining offensive line, and now we can realize that it probably wasn't a very good group. And that Cleveland game intrigued me. Up there, 300 yards, a couple of touchdowns, threw deep a couple of times, and what he said in his exit interview to us about not worrying now about tiptoeing around Ben and how he can be himself. That I'm a little intrigued that maybe he was so worried about the situation with Roethlisberger or upsetting that apple cart that he wasn't the same guy. Maybe he comes in with that swag that he had in college, and he can, at least you could see if he's that guy. If you're going to use this year to see that, I wish you would have done it this past year. But if this is a year to do it, so be it. I'm not anti-Mason Rudolph.
All right, we got to take a break on that. When we come back, we're going to ask these guys about the coaching situation because there is a need for a defensive coordinator. There could maybe be a need for an offensive coordinator. At this point, Matt Canada is still the man there, but that potentially could change. We'll talk about it when we continue right here with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown on KDKA-TV.